Good morning, third grade. This is Mrs. Roth with your reading lesson for Monday, April 13th. We are going to read two stories just like we did last week, and then we're going to compare and contrast them using this chart here. So as we read, make sure you're thinking about the characters, the settings, the plots, and the themes of the story. And then at the very end of the lesson, you will take a short quiz over both stories, so make sure that you're paying attention to the details as we read. Here we go. Kyra's new house. Kyra has been living with her mom and dad in an apartment since she was a baby. She has never known anything different from this cozy apartment. However, there have been changes with Kyra's mom and dad recently. Her dad told her last week that he was going to move into a new place for a little bit. What a big change this was for her, she thought. Her dad would be moving out and she'd have a new place to stay. But she wasn't really sure which place she'd stay at more. Would she stay with her dad at his new house, or would she stay at her apartment where she's always lived with her mom? Kyra's parents told her not to worry about all of these things because they would figure it all out for her. The day of the move came very quickly. A moving truck pulled up outside of her apartment, so she packed up half of her belongings and put them into boxes that her dad gave her. Kyra started crying on moving day, unsure of how she should feel about all these changes. Kyra's dad took a break from moving boxes into the truck to sit down and talk with her. Her dad told her that everything would be okay. He reassured her that she'd have 2 rooms with double the clothes and toys. Kyra still felt a bit of sadness, but tried to take her dad's advice about looking on the bright side. After all, she was looking forward to having 2 rooms all to herself. And the second story is called The Promotion. Kyra, come downstairs. The bus is here, Kyra's mom shouted from the bottom of the stairs. Kyra heard her mom yell, but still needed a few seconds to find her shoes. Coming, Mom. I just can't find my shoes, she yelled. Kyra, hurry up. I told you to find your school gear before we went to bed last night. We all knew we'd be in a hurry this morning, her mom griped. As soon as Kyra found her shoes, she ran downstairs and gave her mom and sister a kiss goodbye. Then she grabbed a pack of Pop-Tarts and ran out the door. Kyra's mom was starting a new position at her job. That meant that Kyra had to start riding the bus to school in the morning. She wasn't thrilled at the idea of having to ride the bus. However, she was proud of her mom for getting a new promotion at work. Kyra knew this would change a lot for her family. She'd have to stay at school for the after-school program since her mom would be working longer hours, and Kyra would have less time to spend with her mom. Her mom told her these long hours she was spending at work were only temporary while she got used to her new job. A lot has changed in Kyra's life in the last few months, but her mom always reminds her that they will spend quality time together at nighttime and on weekends. And her mom has really kept that promise. They eat dinner as a family, read books, and do puzzles together every night. Alright, so now we want to compare and contrast these two stories. I put the titles on there, Kyra's New House and The Promotion. Okay, so we want to think about how are these characters in the stories the same? And we know that the characters in the story are about the same family, right? They're both about Kyra. So we can go ahead and say that both stories have Kyra and her family in them. How are the stories different? We want to contrast the stories. And one way that they are different is that story 1 focuses on Kyra and her dad, while story 2 focuses on Kyra and her mom, right? So that tells us one way that the characters are different. Remember, could be lots of ways that they're the same and different, but for this chart, we're just going to choose one way. Then we look at the settings. One way that the settings are the same are both stories take place around Kyra's apartment, right? That's where they take place. And then how they are different is that story 1 takes place before Kyra's life changes, and story 2 takes place after her life has changed, right? So this is when the setting, not just where, but it also can be when. So when this story is taking place, The first one is when she's talking to her dad about how her life is going to change. And then the second story is about after her life has already changed and she's thinking more about it. Then the plots, remember that's just what happened in the story. So one way that they are the same is that in both stories, Kyra thinks about how her life is going to change or how it has already changed. So in the first story, she talks with her dad about how her life is going to change with having 2 rooms and double the clothes, double the toys, right? And having to live in 2 different houses. And then in the second story, she talks about how she has to go through all these changes with her mom's new job. She has to stay after school, and then she doesn't get to see her mom as much. Then how are they different, the plots? Well, in story 1, Kyra is nervous about all the changes, right? She's crying because she just feels very nervous and overwhelmed at all that's happening. But in story 2, she sees that the changes aren't so bad, right? She sees that she still gets to see her mom. It doesn't talk about her dad in this story, but she sees that it's going to be okay. So then when we get down to the themes, remember you just need to fill in one of these boxes because the themes can either be the same or they can be different. So I chose a theme that is the same in both stories. So right here it says, the theme of both stories is that changes can be hard, but together we can get through them. She saw that it's hard to go through changes, especially with your family or different things that are happening when your parents get a new job or you have to go to a new school, right? There's lots of changes. But if they stick together as a family, they can get through them. Okay, so that is that's one way that we can compare and contrast stories. On Wednesday, you will be doing something like this on your own, reading 2 stories and then comparing and contrasting them. But before you sign off for reading today, I would like you to please go on to ClassKick and you will find this assignment, Reading Monday 413. And the 3 pages we've already looked at are on there. If you go to the very last page, it says exit ticket. Please restate the question in each of your answers. So there's 2 questions here just to show that you have listened to the story and you paid attention while the lesson was going on. So number 1, why was Kyra crying on moving day? And number 2, what did Kyra and her mother do together every night? So your teachers will be going in and grading those. So thank you for listening, and I will see you guys again on Wednesday.